Part 1. The Forbidden Zone. The council chamber was massive, floating in space between three suns. Hundreds of alien species gathered there, their voices echoing off crystal walls. At the center platform stood Commander Dohayan of the Vexary fleet, young and ambitious, his uniform crisp and decorated with medals from distant campaigns. "The vote stands," announced Elder Krev, his ancient voice crackling through the translators. "The Milky Way galaxy remains forbidden. No ship may enter. No probe may cross the barrier. This law has protected us for 50,000 years. Dohayan clenched his fists. He had heard this same speech every council meeting. Always the same words. Always the same fear. But never any explanation. Why? Dohayan asked loudly. The chamber fell silent. What is in that galaxy that terrifies you so much? Elder Krev's four eyes narrowed. The ancient records are clear. A great catastrophe happened long ago. Entire civilizations were destroyed. We sealed that galaxy to prevent it from happening again. But what caused it? Dohayan pressed. Show us these records. Let us see the evidence. The records are sealed for the safety of all, another elder responded coldly. This discussion is over. Dohayan left the chamber angry and frustrated. His science officer, Juno, waited for him in the corridor. Juno was brilliant, always questioning, always curious. Beside him stood Hannah, the fleet's best pilot, and Mira, their linguistic expert who could speak 200 languages. They're hiding something, Dohayan told them. I can feel it. Commander, Juno said quietly, pulling out a data pad. I've been running long-range scans of the Milky Way. Look at this. The pad showed energy readings, faint but unmistakable. They came from deep inside the Forbidden Galaxy, from a small yellow star. Artificial signals, Juno continued. Radio waves, satellite transmissions. There's a civilization in there, Commander. A living, breathing civilization. That's impossible, Mira whispered. The Council said nothing could survive in that galaxy. The Council lied, Dohayan said simply. Or they don't know. Either way, I intend to find out the truth. 3 weeks later, a small Vexary research fleet slipped away from the frontier stations. 5 ships, all volunteers. They told the Council they were mining asteroids near the border. In reality, they were heading straight for the Forbidden Zone. Tay, the fleet's diplomatic officer, stood beside Dohayan on the bridge as they approached the invisible barrier. He was older than the commander, more cautious, but equally tired of the Council's secrets. Crossing the boundary in 30 seconds, Hannah announced from the pilot's seat. Everyone held their breath. The ancient warnings spoke of terrible defenses, of weapons that could destroy entire fleets, of horrors beyond imagination. The ships crossed the line. Nothing happened. All systems normal, Juno reported, sounding almost disappointed. No defenses. No weapons. No energy fields. It's just empty space. Then why forbid it? Mira wondered aloud. Keep going, Dohayan ordered. Head for that yellow star. Let's see what the Council doesn't want us to find. The journey took 5 days. As they drew closer, the signals grew stronger. Juno worked day and night analyzing the transmissions. They call themselves humans, he reported. Their planet is called Earth. They have early space technology, maybe a few hundred years old. Primitive compared to us. Then why quarantine an entire galaxy for one primitive species? They asked. Nobody had an answer. When they finally reached Earth, the planet took their breath away. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green land masses showed forests and fields. White clouds drifted peacefully. Cities sparkled with lights. Small spacecraft and satellites circled in low orbit. It's beautiful, Hannah said softly. It looks so harmless, Mira added. Commander, Juno interrupted, his voice sharp with surprise. We're being scanned. The humans know we're here. Before Dohayan could respond, a voice came through their communications system. It spoke in perfect Galactic Common, the language used by all Council species. Vexary vessels welcome. We've been expecting visitors for a long time. Please come to these coordinates. We need to talk. The bridge went silent. Tay felt cold fear creep down his spine. How do they know our language? Hannah whispered. How do they know who we are? Juno added. Dohayan stared at the beautiful blue planet below. His voice was quiet when he finally spoke. Because someone has been here before. Accept their invitation. We're going down. As the shuttle prepared for descent, Tay realized the terrible truth. The Council hadn't locked the Milky Way to protect the galaxy from what was inside. They had locked it to keep whatever was inside from getting out. The end of Part 1. Part 2, First Contact. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, shaking slightly as it cut through the clouds. Dohayan sat in the passenger compartment with Tay, Mira, and Juno. Through the small windows they could see the planet's surface growing closer. Oceans stretched endlessly below them. Cities covered the coastlines like scattered jewels. The coordinates they sent lead to a space station, Hannah called from the pilot's seat. Small, primitive construction. Spinning to create artificial gravity. Very basic technology. Yet they spoke our language perfectly, Mira reminded everyone. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her translation device. That should be impossible. The space station came into view. It looked fragile compared to Vexary construction, like a toy made of metal tubes and solar panels. But as they approached, Dohayan noticed something that made his blood run cold. The station had defensive positions, carefully hidden but unmistakable to his military eye. These humans were not as primitive as they appeared. The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Dohayan stood and straightened his uniform. Remember, we are guests here. Be respectful but cautious. We still don't know what we're dealing with. The airlock opened with a hiss. Beyond it stood a simple corridor, brightly lit. 3 humans waited there, wearing matching blue jumpsuits with patches showing their planet and a flag. 2 men and 1 woman. They looked remarkably similar to several species Dohayan had met before. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Simple biological design. They smiled warmly. "Welcome aboard," said the woman in the center. She was older, perhaps 50 in Earth years, with gray streaking her dark hair. "I'm Commander Salmon Park. This is Dr. Jiho Kim and Engineer Hyuk Lee. We're honored to finally meet you." "Finally?" Tae asked sharply. "You speak as if you knew we were coming." Salmon's smile didn't fade. "Not you specifically. But someone. Eventually. The barrier couldn't hold forever." She gestured down the corridor. "Please come. We have much to discuss. And I imagine you have many questions." They followed the humans through narrow passages. The station was cramped and clearly designed for efficiency rather than comfort. Juno kept scanning everything with his handheld device, recording data. The humans didn't seem to mind. They entered a small conference room with a round table and several chairs. A window dominated one wall, showing Earth rotating slowly below. It was a stunning view. "Before we begin," Dohayan said firmly, "explain how you know our language. Explain how you knew we were Vexary. Explain all of this." Salmon sat down and motioned for them to do the same. Jiho, the doctor, pulled up a holographic display. It flickered to life, showing images that made the Vexary visitors freeze in shock. Star maps. Council stations. Galactic trade routes. Military positions. Ships they recognized. Technology that shouldn't exist in human hands. "We know your language," Jiho said calmly, "because we taught it to your ancestors 12,000 years ago. We know you're Vexary because we have extensive files on every council species. We've been watching you all this time." "That's impossible," Mira breathed. "Your civilization is barely 300 years into space age. Your technology is—" "What we let you see," Hyuk interrupted gently. "What we allow your sensors to detect. We've become very good at appearing harmless." Dohayan felt dizzy. Nothing made sense. The council records say this galaxy was sealed 50,000 years ago. They say a catastrophe destroyed everything here. "The council lies," Salmon said simply. "Or rather, they tell a comfortable version of history. The truth is more complicated." She stood and walked to the window, looking down at Earth. 50,000 years ago, humanity was not confined to this one planet. We had spread across multiple galaxies. We had technology that made the council's greatest achievements look like children's toys. We were explorers, traders, warriors. We were everywhere. "Then what happened?" Tae asked quietly. "We became too powerful," Salmon continued. "Too advanced. Too unpredictable. Some humans wanted peace. Others wanted conquest. We nearly tore the galaxy apart fighting ourselves. The other species feared us. They feared what we might become." Jiho took over the explanation. "So a treaty was made. The oldest human colonies, the wisest leaders, they made a deal with the council. Humanity would reset. We would return to Earth, wipe our own records, start over from the beginning. We would stay locked in the Milky Way until we learned to control ourselves. Until we grew up." "And the council agreed to leave you alone," Juno said slowly, understanding dawning. "They created the quarantine to enforce the treaty." "Exactly," Salmon confirmed. "But the deal had a condition. If anyone from outside ever broke the barrier, ever came looking for us, the treaty would be considered void." Humanity would be free to leave. The room fell silent. Dohayan felt his heart pounding. You mean by coming here You've released us, Saman finished. Her smile was both sad and excited. After 50,000 years of isolation, humanity is about to return to the galaxy. And the Council knows this. They're probably panicking right now, wondering what to do about you. About us. Tay stood abruptly, his chair scraping backward. We need to leave. We need to warn the Council. If what you say is true. It's too late for warnings, Hyuk said softly. The moment you crossed the barrier, automated systems sent messages to every human colony outside the Milky Way. They're already coming home. Thousands of ships. Millions of people. All heading here. Dohayan stared at the three humans. They looked so ordinary, so peaceful. But behind their calm faces, he saw something ancient and patient. Something that had been waiting a very, very long time. What happens now? He asked. Saman turned from the window. Now, Commander Dohayan, you help us decide. Does humanity return as friends or as conquerors? That choice begins with you. The end of Part 2. Part 3, the truth unfolds. Dohayan couldn't sleep. He sat alone in his assigned quarters aboard the human space station, staring at the data pad in his hands. The information Saman had given him was overwhelming. Historical records, star charts, battle reports from wars fought before his species even existed. All of it pointed to one terrifying conclusion. Humanity had once ruled half the known universe. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Tay entered without waiting for permission. The diplomatic officer looked exhausted, his eyes red from lack of sleep. The Council is demanding our immediate return, Tay said quietly. They've sent 12 warships to the barrier. They're threatening to arrest us for treason if we don't leave the Milky Way immediately. Let them threaten, Dohayan replied. We came here for truth. I won't leave until I understand everything. Commander, Tay sat down heavily. What if the humans are lying? What if this is all an elaborate trap? Before Dohayan could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Both officers ran to the command center where Saman and her team were already gathered around displays showing space surrounding Earth. What's happening? Dohayan demanded. They're arriving, Saman said calmly. The first wave of human ships from outside the galaxy. Watch. The displays lit up with dozens, then hundreds of contacts appearing near the edge of the solar system. Ships materialized from nowhere, using technology that bent space itself. They were enormous, sleek vessels that made the Vexery fleet look like insects by comparison. Juno's scanner went wild with readings. Impossible energy signatures. Those ships are generating power levels equivalent to small stars. And their weapons. Commander, one of those vessels could destroy our entire fleet with a single shot. They won't attack you, Jiho assured them. Those are colony ships, not warships. They're bringing families home. Mira stepped forward, her translation device in hand. I've been analyzing the communication between those ships. They're speaking languages I've never heard. Ancient dialects, but also modern council languages. They know everything about us. Hyuk pulled up a holographic map of Earth. Red dots began appearing across the planet's surface. Watch this. The dots multiplied rapidly. Thousands, then tens of thousands. Ancient installations were activating all over the planet. Buried facilities on every continent began powering up after millennia of silence. What are those? Tay asked nervously. Defense systems. Manufacturing centers. Power stations, Saman explained. When humanity agreed to the reset, we didn't destroy our technology. We buried it, waiting for the day we might need it again. The view shifted to show Mars. The red planet's surface was changing before their eyes. Massive structures were rising from beneath the dust. Entire cities emerging like giants waking from sleep. Mars was our first colony, Jiho said. We've maintained automated systems there for 50,000 years. Now they're coming back online. Dohayan felt sick. The Council doesn't know about any of this. They think humans are primitive. They think you're weak. We let them think that, Saman said. It was easier that way. Safer. But now the truth must come out. A new voice suddenly filled the command center. It came from everywhere at once, calm and ageless. Saman, all colony fleets have arrived. We await your instructions. That's Admiral Daehoon, Saman explained. He's been leading the external colonies for the past 800 years. He was there when the treaty was signed. He remembers the old wars. She activated the communication system. Admiral, this is Park. We have guests from the Vexery fleet. They broke the barrier accidentally. I'm requesting peaceful protocols. Understood, the Admiral's voice replied. But the Council will not take this peacefully. Their warships are already assembling at the barrier. They fear what happens next. Juno had been quiet, working frantically at his station. Now he looked up with horror on his face. Commander Dohayan, I'm detecting weapons charging on the Council warships. They're preparing to fire into the Milky Way. They're going to try to destroy us before we can leave. They can't, Mira gasped. That would be genocide. Billions of humans live on Earth. The Council is afraid, Tay said bitterly. They've built their entire civilization on the belief that humanity was extinct. Now they know it was all a lie. They'll do anything to maintain their power. Saman's expression hardened. This is exactly what we feared. This is why some humans wanted to remain hidden forever. The galaxy hasn't changed. They still see us as a threat. Are you? Dohayan asked directly. Are humans a threat to the galaxy? Saman met his eyes. That depends on what happens in the next few hours. If the Council attacks us, we will defend ourselves. And Commander, you've seen our ships. You know what our technology can do. A war between humanity and the Council would devastate both sides. Then we must prevent it, Tay said firmly. There has to be another way. Admiral Daehoon's voice returned, now urgent. Saman, Council ships are moving into attack formation. They're powering weapons. We're out of time. The command center fell silent. Everyone looked at Saman, waiting for her decision. The fate of billions hung in the balance. One word from her could start a war that would burn across the galaxy. Saman took a deep breath. Admiral, activate defensive shields only. Do not fire unless fired upon. And send a message to every Council species. Tell them we wish to talk, not fight. Tell them humanity has returned, and we remember both the good and the bad from our past. She turned to Dohayan. Commander, you wanted truth. Now you have it. The question is, what will you do with it? The end of Part 3. Part 4, The Awakening. The Council warships opened fire first. Brilliant streams of energy lanced across space toward the human fleet. Dohayan watched the displays in horror, certain he was about to witness the destruction of thousands of lives. But the human ships didn't explode. They didn't even move. The weapons' fire simply stopped, absorbed by invisible shields that glowed briefly blue then faded. The massive colony vessels hung in space, untouched and unmoved. Return fire, Admiral Daehoon's voice commanded calmly. Precision strikes only. Disable their weapons but do not destroy the ships. Show them we could kill them but choose not to. What happened next took less than 3 seconds. The human ships fired thin beams of golden light. Each beam struck a Council warship with perfect accuracy, cutting through shields like they were paper. Weapons arrays exploded. Engine compartments went dark. Within moments, 12 Council warships floated helplessly in space, completely disabled but intact. Message sent to all Council vessels, reported a human communications officer. They're retreating back through the barrier. Juno stared at his scanner in disbelief. They didn't just disable those ships. They performed surgical strikes on moving targets across millions of kilometers of space. The precision required for that it's beyond anything the Council possesses. Saman turned to Dohayan. We don't want war, Commander. But we will not be attacked without consequence. The Council needed to understand that. They'll come back with more ships, Tay warned. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They'll see this as an invasion. Let them come, said a new voice. A tall woman entered the command center, wearing a simple gray uniform. She had silver hair despite appearing young, and her eyes held a depth that made Dohayan uncomfortable. I am Suyin. I speak for the human colonies outside this galaxy. We number in the billions across 50 star systems. We have waited 50,000 years for this moment. You want war? Dohayan said. It wasn't a question. No, Suyin replied. We want freedom. There's a difference. She gestured to the displays showing Earth. For 50,000 years, our brothers and sisters on that planet have lived in ignorance. They forgot who they were. They forgot their history. They built civilizations, destroyed them, and built again. They struggled and suffered, all because of a treaty made by ancestors they don't even remember. Mira stepped forward hesitantly. But you remember? The colonies outside remembered everything. We did, Suyin confirmed. We watched from afar. We saw humanity on Earth discover fire again, invent the wheel again, reach for the stars again. It was painful. But we honored the treaty. We stayed away. Until now. Hyuk pulled up new displays showing activity across Earth. The awakening is spreading. Ancient genetic markers in human DNA are activating. Buried memories are surfacing. People all over the planet are remembering things they shouldn't know. Jiho added, human biology is unique. We store information not just in our brains but in our very cells. The reset 50,000 years ago suppressed these memories, but they were never truly gone. Now that the treaty is broken, the suppression is ending. Dohayan watched news feeds from Earth. Humans everywhere were experiencing strange dreams, sudden knowledge, unexplained abilities. Scientists were confused. Governments were panicking. Religious leaders claimed miracles. But underlying it all was a growing awareness. Humanity was remembering what it once was. This is why the Council feared you, Tay said quietly. Not because you're violent or cruel, but because you adapt. You survive. You learn from everything. Give humanity any challenge and eventually you'll master it. Exactly, Suyin agreed. The Council species reached their technological peaks thousands of years ago. They've barely advanced since. But humans never stop evolving, never stop improving. We're not smarter than other species. We're not stronger. But we never give up. That's what terrifies them. Alarms sounded again. Juno checked his scanner. More ships arriving. But these aren't Council vessels. I don't know what they are. The energy signatures are completely unknown. The displays showed 3 massive ships entering the solar system. They were ancient, covered in symbols from civilizations long dead. They moved slowly, deliberately, broadcasting on all frequencies. Those are Keeper ships, Saman breathed. The oldest species in the galaxy. They were here when the treaty was first made. A voice emerged from the Keeper vessels, speaking in a language so old that the translators struggled to interpret it. Finally the words came through clearly. We are the Keepers of Records. We witnessed the treaty 50,000 years ago. We warned the Council this day would come. The treaty has been broken by outside action. By ancient law, humanity is released from all obligations. The question now stands before all species. What kind of galaxy do we wish to build together? Suyin smiled grimly. They're offering us a choice. Join the Council as equals or go our own way. And if you go your own way? Dohayan asked. Then the galaxy splits in 2, she answered. Human space and Council space. And eventually, inevitably, we would go to war. Tay looked at Dohayan desperately. Commander, you have to speak to the Council. Make them understand. Make them see reason. Dohayan thought of his own people, the Vexari. Young, ambitious, always seeking knowledge. Much like humans actually. He made his decision. No, he said firmly. I won't speak to the Council. We will. All of us together. Humans and Vexari standing side by side. We'll show them that cooperation is possible. That different species can work together as equals. Saman studied him carefully. You would risk your career? Your life? Your entire species might be punished for your choice. Then they'll be punished for doing the right thing, Dohayan replied. I'm tired of the Council's fear and lies. If humanity is willing to try peace, then so am I. Suyin's stern expression softened slightly. Perhaps there's hope after all. The end of Part 4. Part 5. A New Covenant. The meeting chamber was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It floated in neutral space, constructed in just 3 days by human and Vexari engineers working together. Half the design followed Council architecture, beautiful and traditional. The other half showed human efficiency, clean lines and practical purpose. The building itself was a statement. Different civilizations could create something new together. Dohayan stood at the entrance, watching representatives arrive. Council members came reluctantly, their ships bristling with weapons. Human delegates arrived in simple transports, carrying no weapons at all. The Keepers observed from a distance, their ancient vessels silent witnesses to history. Tay adjusted his diplomatic robes nervously. The Council elders are furious. They're calling you a traitor. They want to make an example of the Vexari for breaking the quarantine. Let them try, Dohayan said calmly. We didn't break anything. We revealed a truth they tried to hide. Inside the chamber, hundreds of seats formed a circle. No species was higher than another. Everyone sat at the same level. Saman and Suyin represented humanity. Dohayan and Tay stood for the Vexari. Elder Krev led the Council delegation, his 4 eyes filled with anger and fear. The Keeper representative spoke first, its voice ancient and weary. 50,000 years ago, humanity and the Council made a covenant. Humanity would withdraw from the galaxy, reset their civilization, and remain isolated until they learned peace. The Council would maintain the barrier and never speak of what happened. Both sides kept their word until 3 weeks ago. The Vexery broke the treaty, Elder Krev accused, pointing at Dohayan. They must be punished. The treaty, Suyin interrupted coldly, stated that if anyone crossed the barrier, humanity would be released from all obligations. The Vexery did cross. Therefore we are free. That was the agreement. An agreement made to protect the galaxy from your violence, another council elder shouted. Humanity nearly destroyed everything 50,000 years ago. You were warriors, conquerors, killers. Saman stood slowly. Her calm demeanor silenced the chamber. We were. And we paid the price for our mistakes. We gave up everything. We forgot ourselves. We started over from nothing. Do you know what that cost us? She activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing Earth's history. Civilizations rising and falling. Wars, famines, plagues. Humanity struggling in the darkness, having to relearn everything from scratch. We suffered, Saman continued. For 50,000 years we climbed back from stone tools to starships. We made the same mistakes over and over because we couldn't remember our past. We died in wars we had already fought and won millennia before. All of this because we agreed to give the galaxy peace. Jiho added quietly, the humans on Earth didn't choose this punishment. Their ancestors made that choice for them. Generations suffered for crimes they never committed. And still, when we returned, when they started remembering who they were, they asked one question. Can we do better this time? Pretty words, Elder Krev sneered. But we've seen your weapons. We've seen your ships. You could destroy the Council fleet easily. Why should we believe you want peace? Dohayan stood, his voice strong. Because I've seen them choose peace when they could have chosen war. When your ships attacked, they could have destroyed you. They disabled your weapons instead. They could have killed thousands. They chose not to. Mira stood beside him. I've studied human culture for weeks now. Yes, they have capacity for violence. But they also have unmatched capacity for cooperation, for forgiveness, for growth. They don't just adapt to challenges. They adapt to their own mistakes. Hannah, the pilot, spoke up surprisingly. I've flown with human pilots. They shared their technology freely, taught us their techniques without hesitation. They didn't have to do that. Juno, the scientist, added, human technology is centuries ahead of ours. But they're offering to share it, not hoard it. They're offering partnership, not domination. The council members whispered among themselves. Fear and suspicion filled their voices. Finally, a younger council member stood. She was from a species Dohayan didn't recognize. Perhaps, she said carefully, we fear humanity not because they're dangerous, but because they show us what we could become if we stopped being afraid. If we stopped clinging to old ways. Maybe that's the real threat. Not their weapons but their potential. Suyin smiled sadly. We don't want to rule you. We don't want your territory or your resources. We want to go home, to live on our own worlds and to be left in peace. But we also want the chance to trade, to share knowledge, to be part of the galactic community as equals. And if we refuse? Elder Krev asked. Then we go our separate ways, Saman answered. Human space and council space. We'll draw boundaries and respect them. But make no mistake. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves. And you know now what that means. Silence fell over the chamber. The weight of the decision pressed on everyone. Finally, the keeper spoke again. The galaxy stands at a crossroads. Choose fear and separation or choose trust and cooperation. Choose the past or choose the future. Elder Krev looked old and tired. He stared at the human delegates for a long moment. Then slowly he stood. Humanity may join the council, he said reluctantly. As full members. With equal voice. But you must agree to regulations, to inspections, to transparency. Agreed, Saman said immediately. We'll share our technology gradually. We'll prove our intentions through actions, not just words. Give us time and we'll show you we've changed. Suyin added, the human colonies outside will return home. We'll reunite our species after 50,000 years. We'll rebuild our civilization, but this time we'll build it on wisdom, not conquest. Dohayan felt tears in his eyes. Against all odds, peace had been chosen. Tay gripped his shoulder proudly. The keeper's voice held something almost like warmth. Then let it be recorded. The covenant is renewed. Humanity returns to the galaxy not as conquerors but as partners. May this peace last longer than the last one. As the delegates filed out, Saman approached Dohayan. Thank you, Commander. You risked everything to stand with us. No, Dohayan replied, smiling. I risked everything to stand for truth. That's different. And it was worth it. Above them, through the transparent ceiling, human ships and council ships flew side by side, heading toward a shared future. The end.